Hi, welcome back. In this movie, I'm going to take a look at the issue of cohesion. Cohesion has always been an important idea to me about how things connect to one another and how sentences connect to one another. And boy, that plays an important role in creating text that is readable, that your reader can move through easily. So I look forward to talking with you about this issue and hope it's helpful to you in your essays. Students are very well aware of this issue of cohesion, although they don't necessarily call it cohesion. They tend to call it flow. They want their sentences to flow together. And they appreciate it when a writer can make their sentences flow together. And the technical term for that is cohesion. Cohesion's that sense that as we move sentence by sentence through the essay, we can really understand what's happening. That the previous sentence and the one we're reading and the one that's coming up is all going to be connected together. And when we have a sense of that as readers and we understand that and the writer has proven to us that they're doing that, we can really relax and really try to deal with the reader's ideas, which is what we really must want to focus on. Today I'm going to begin with an example of weak cohesion. So we'll look at this. In the documentary Digital Nation, Douglas Rushkoff wishes he could push the pause button and we can look at the digital world and say just what's going on here. We are being changed by the digital world and we should take time to pay attention to it. This needs to be done due to the fact that the changes are occurring so fast. Mark Berlin warns one of the dangers of the digital age is that technology changes so rapidly that it clouds our memory of things as they existed but a few years past. We won't be able to remember in the future if we don't do it now. Alright, so a lot of people might think, okay, this is a pretty good paragraph. It's got two sources in it. It's got both Rushkoff and it's got both Bauerlein in it, so, that's nice. And it is a good paragraph to work with. But when you begin to look at it, you can also begin to see that there's some problems with it. I mean, first of all, look at the topic sentence. And is this really a topic sentence? Or is this something that's more, say a second sentence? And that certainly we're beginning to get all this technical information and Douglas Rushkoff, all that's being introduced, but what's the paragraph really going to be about? We've not really told the reader yet. So one of the first principles of cohesion is you've got to have a topic sentence so that you can connect to it. So then as we begin to move through the sentence, just what's going on here. So this is how the end of the quote from the Rushkoff. And then it says, we are being changed by the digital world. I'm not sure how this idea links and what the connection is. So, I'm trying to work with that. And then we move into this one, so we should take time to pay attention to it. And this needs to be done. So I'm not quite sure here of the linkage either. And then we move into the Bauerlein quote, but we move from changes are occurring so fast right into Bauerlein. And there's not much setup there. So again, I'm struggling to figure out how one sentence connects to another. And then even the final one, as we come out of the Bauerlein quote, we get, I guess, some analysis. But it's also the final sentence of the paragraph, so we won't be able to remember. Well, again, the connection here is kind of, spotty. So I'm not sure what to do with this, and it creates a lot of problems for me. Here's pretty much the same paragraph again, but now I've made this one with strong cohesion. You're going to notice that there's some of the same things going on. Here's Rushkoff, so, he's still in, and so Bauerlein's still in too. But, otherwise you're going to see that there's some additional sentences. First of all, we've got a topic sentence, right there. And it really is a strong one. Some experts are concerned about how rapidly change is occurring in the digital age. So we get this whole notion of experts. Well, Rushkoff then is an expert, right? So he's our first expert, first one that comes up. And then Bauerlein is going to be, the second expert. So it's good that we've got two, and that's some experts. So we're right there. We're kind of aware. And they're concerned about how rapidly change. So this seems to be a key word, and that's going to show up throughout our particular essay. And then we move in we can move down through the paragraph and we see the quote, and the quote comes to the end. And then we notice that the writer does he wants. So the he refers back to Rushkoff, right? So there's a connection there between them. It's really easy to see that. So he wants us. So here the writer's really interpreting to take time to examine how we are being changed. So change again, and we saw change here. So we've got another change by our digital devices. And notice, this is a new idea, right? We've not seen this in the paragraph so far, digital devices. So it's the new idea, and it's coming at the end of the sentence instead of at the beginning. And then when we move to the next sentence, all of a sudden digital devices shows up, but it's closer to the beginning. Looking at our relationship with our digital devices, that's the first part of the sentence. Kind of splits right there. And then here's the verb, must be done, because changes, again, changes, the word that we're connecting to there, are occurring quickly. So already you can see that there's a lot of cohesion as we move through this. And then, speaking to the issue of rapid change, so already we're connecting from what's happening here, and we're moving into the Bauerlein quote, and we're connecting him. Critic Mark Bauerlein warns, so now we know who he is, and we know what he's going to say. We know how to read it. It's a warning. And then we read the quote. And then we begin to see, again, this he, so that refers back to Bauerlein, right? So a nice cohesion, we're keeping up with that. And now we see an interpretation of the quote. What does that mean? What did that quote mean? How does it fit into the writer's paragraph? And the writer here does a good job of showing us that so that we know there's no question in the reader's mind. And then he comes to the final sentence of the paragraph, and he begins to work with what's up there in the topic sentence. So the topic and the final connect, and you want to make sure that that's happening. And so this is almost some sort of an answer here at the bottom to what's happening up here at the top. And that makes a nice unified paragraph that it's easy for the reader to follow. So from the examples that we've looked at, we can come up with a few rules, let's say, some strategies for trying to improve your cohesion. And so the first thing that we're going to really look at is this idea that put the old first. And the old means material that your reader is familiar with. And you're going to put that in the beginning part of the sentence. In fact, that's going to be the subject of your sentence. So number one is begin your sentence with information familiar to your readers. Check. You want to make sure that they understand where you're at. Don't begin a sentence with a bit of new information. See that contradiction there. You wouldn't want that to do that. That new information goes at the end, right? Don't begin a sentence with a bit of technical information. Think about some of your sentences in the digital literacy history essay that you begin with Haywisher and Self say. That's not very smooth. It's maybe understandable, but it's awful hard for the reader to absorb that information. So, avoid that sort of situation and make sure that you put them in or give them some sort of introduction. And use your openings of your sentences to refer back to previous material or gently introduce a new topic. So we're really driving home this idea that put information familiar to your readers at the beginning of the sentence. And we'll conclude by looking at how to improve your cohesion by putting the new information last. This is the new stuff that we saw, like when we saw those digital devices show up in the strong example that we looked at. So first of all, in your sentences with new information your readers cannot anticipate, the digital devices was a good example of that. So if you want to go back and look at that, that's something that you might want to think about doing, because then that way you can see the example at work. Don't end a sentence with old information. We should get that in the beginning. Put the new, technical, and difficult information at the end of the sentence. So this is what it is that you want to make sure that you're doing. Do this. Use transitions to convey the connections between the ideas in your sentences. Oh, so many students will not use transitions, ways to link things together. Please consider doing that. It so helps the reader. The reader really likes it when you think about them and you put in transition words. All right, good luck with this and try to make those sentences as cohesive as you can.